The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold6 divides opinions. On the one hand, it's an engineering marvel that still turns heads and delights onlookers, but on the other, it's barely any different from the last model and isn't the spec sheet monster many expect for the price. As I'm about to explain, whether any of this matters or whether you should consider buying it is a matter of perspective. Taking the right perspective requires thinking about the Galaxy Z Fold6 differently from a phone like the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Samsung's Z Fold range has been about small changes making a big difference for a few generations now, and the latest version continues the trend. Tiny alterations to the dimensions, screen aspect ratio, and weight of the device will disappoint spec peepers, but in the real world, they make the phone more usable, comfortable, and manageable than ever before. You can compare the relevant numbers elsewhere, so let's talk about using, holding, and living with it instead. The Galaxy Z Fold6's weight and dimensions have been refined to the point where it's less cumbersome to carry around than my iPhone 15 Pro Max inside a case. I'm convinced Samsung has improved weight distribution too, as it feels wonderfully balanced in my hand, and the minimally altered 6.3-inch, 120Hz cover screen dimensions have improved one-handed use even more than the Galaxy Z Fold 5. However, if you're genuinely wanting to use the phone with one hand, it's a bit of a juggling act. My preferred way is to cradle the closed phone with one hand and swipe type and navigate with the other. Open the phone up, and the 7.6-inch adaptive 120Hz screen is still as excellent as previous versions for games and video, and because it's thin and quite light, it's not fatiguing to hold in front of you and read on it either. I adore that the Z Fold6 is such an accomplished all-rounder. It's much more durable these days with its armor aluminum, improved hinge, IP48 dust/water resistance rating, Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and alterations to the inner screen's cover. Plus, the size and weight aren't as much of a hurdle anymore. I feel the same about the screen's crease. I know people notice it, and I understand it's different from viewing an all-glass flat screen. But once there's color and activity on the screen, it does blend into the background. I don't even notice it that much when swiping over the screen, and when I do, it's not uncomfortable or a hindrance. It's still there, but it has been minimized over the years, which actually neatly describes most of the hardware aspects that may once have been a problem for Samsung's foldables. This is where perspective comes into play. The Galaxy Z Fold6 is not a perfect piece of hardware, but don't fall into the trap of being put off by small quirks or outdated concerns that Samsung has worked hard to minimize or fix, to the point where they are now almost inconsequential. Don't go looking for dramatic changes in the Z Fold6 camera compared to the Z Fold 5. It's the same 50-megapixel main camera, 10-megapixel telephoto for a 3x optical zoom, and 12-megapixel wide-angle camera on the back. On the cover screen is a 10-megapixel selfie camera, and on the open screen is a 4-megapixel under-display camera. It's not a competitor to the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but it can still take good photos. It's a very Samsung camera with strong reds, greens, and blues dominating photos and very capable HDR that makes them pop off the screen. Sunny day photos are vibrant, colorful, and exciting, if not technically very accurate to what you see in real life. For a lot of people, this will be exactly what they want. However, if you want to be a mobile photographer, it's not going to satisfy you at all. Why? When you look at the Z Fold6 images critically, the wide-angle camera takes muddy, low-quality images, especially in suboptimal lighting, and at any zoom level apart from 3x, the photos are disappointing, just like the 4-megapixel under-display camera. Lens flare using the main camera is quite common, but not always unwelcome, but it's great otherwise. It's good when you're not demanding too much of it, but very keen photographers will find it does not provide the versatility and quality they want. There's AI sprinkled throughout the camera app, and it's fine, but nothing more. Give the generative ad a relatively simple shape to remove from photos, and it'll just about do it well. But anything that has a busy or complex background just ends up looking smudgy. Sketch-to-image changes rudimentary scribbles over photos into something more realistic. It's sometimes cute and enjoyable, but it's also quite dim-witted and unable to think too far out of the box. I can't imagine how often I use it outside of the initial experimentation phase. While the camera is good but not amazing, the Z Fold 6 is easily one of the best phones to view and edit photos on due to the big screen. It's much easier and quicker to isolate subjects you want to remove from an image using AI. It's better to see how different edits affect the image overall, and it's glorious to swipe through your gallery and admire the shots you've taken. The simplicity of the punchy camera make the Z Fold6 the keen Instagrammer's dream phone, but not one for someone looking for more accomplished and versatile camera hardware. Hidden inside the Z Fold6's folding panels is a 4400 mAh battery, which is the same capacity as the one in the Galaxy Z Fold5. I've not been that impressed with its performance, as quite often I've looked down at it and wondered where all the battery life had gone. It's shaping up to be a one-day battery phone. I don't think this is the way it should be, and it's potentially an efficiency problem, as the Z Fold6 doesn't seem to enjoy working hard, which is at odds with other Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 phones I've used. For example, a 1-hour video call takes 18% of the battery, and 30 minutes of Asphalt Legends Unite drains 11%. A full-screen 30-minute YouTube video at 2160 takes only 4% though, and I don't notice much excessive drain just browsing Chrome or Reddit, suggesting the phone isn't as efficient as it should be when doing power-intensive tasks. Aside from a little heat buildup around the camera, the back of the phone doesn't get hot when playing games. Overall, I found about 2.5 hours of general use screen time takes 50% of the battery, leaving you with at most 5 hours of screen time a day, provided you don't play games. This is all very frustrating, as the Galaxy Z Fold6 is a great productivity phone, and a single day of use may not be enough for power users. However, I am only a short time into using the phone, and Android does take its time optimizing itself to your use, so the battery life may improve somewhat the longer you use it. This is an overall positive review of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold6 because it's a very good folding smartphone, and one that's so easy to live with that you can buy it with very little worry. However, I know people will have a problem with it. It isn't very different from the Z Fold5 at all, and it's not even a top-spec phone for the price. These things considered, I want to tell you that you're right to think it's still not good enough. Because you're going to pay at least $1,900 for the Z Fold6, you're correct to expect more than 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage space, faster wired charging, a better camera, and even a S Pen stylus to be thrown in. Unfortunately, if you want the Z Fold6 to be the flagship to end all flagships, it's just not that. What it is a delightfully refined, supremely capable phone that perfectly showcases the still incredible folding technology and two-in-one convenience. It won't disappoint you when you understand what it is and what it isn't. That's what I mean about perspective. The Z Fold6 is a flagship smartphone when it comes to design and engineering, with an emphasis on media and productivity during use. I don't think it's supposed to be a folding Galaxy S24 Ultra or a reimagining of the now-dead Galaxy Note series, which is sometimes how it seems to be viewed. It's more like a folding Galaxy S24 Plus, and understanding that makes it easier to live with the shortcomings of the specs and the fact it's very close to being a shameless repeat of last year, as long as you can stomach the price. Open or closed, the Galaxy Z Fold6 is very good indeed. The new dimensions make it completely usable with almost no caveats when the phone is closed, and with the screen open, its iPad mini-like size means I reach for my tablet or laptop less. It's a dual-use smartphone that, depending on your own personal requirements, could truly be your one and only mobile device. The problem is the same can almost be said for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold5. We're still at the point where no foldable is dull, but it is a minimal update compared to the last, which was itself a minimal update, despite the hardware alterations once again making it a better phone to use and own. It's also still really expensive, even more so this year, and the slow charging, shortish battery life, and strong but not the best spec make it even harder to justify that amount of money. Is that still enough to make it a recommendation? Absolutely, but mostly if you haven't taken that first step into folding phones yet. This is another important perspective, as the Z Fold6 will certainly be someone's first folding phone, and if that's you, I know you're going to love it. We should all rejoice that finally you can join the folding fun because the tech has been refined to the point where you won't have to worry about all those pesky, off-putting early problems. But if you already know this because you've got a recent Z Fold phone, you probably don't need to buy this one, and that's a bit of a shame. So, share your experience if you have already bought one in the comment section below. See you all in the next one. Until then, take care.